Bank of Canada could go either way this week as Trump's tariff turmoil takes toll. Just 2 days before the Bank of Canada decides on interest rates and forecasters are split on which way it will go. The uncertainty is understandable considering the volatility U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff war has unleashed on economies, stock markets, and central bank policymakers. According to a Reuters poll taken last week, just over 60% of economists expect the Bank of Canada to hold its overnight rate at 2.75% this Wednesday. 11 out of 29 expect a cut of 25 basis points. Markets are also tilted towards a pause with bets on a rate cut now at 32%, down from 40% since Trump's latest tariff pullback last week. The door is certainly open for the bank to trim the policy rate by another 25 basis points as a precautionary measure, a view we are leaning toward, said Mark Ercolau, an economist with Toronto-Dominion Bank. That said, taking a pause is still a potential option. Canada's central bank confirmed in its summary of deliberations recently that the threat of Trump's tariffs on the economy prompted policymakers to cut the interest rate in March. But since then, that threat has eased. On the president's so-called Liberation Day, April 2nd, Canada dodged further reciprocal tariffs. Then the countries that were hit with hefty duties, except China, were given a 90-day reprieve after stock markets went into a nosedive last week. There are 2 positives for Canada out of this reprieve, said Thomas Ryan, North America economist for Capital Economics. It reduces the likelihood of a United States recession, which would have spilled over into Canada, and it helped stabilize global stock and bond markets. However, risks to the Canadian economy remain. Economists now expect it will grow just 1.2% this year and 1.1% the next, down significantly from forecasts made just a month ago, according to the Reuters poll. Despite the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs, the threat still hangs over businesses and households, points out CIBC Capital Markets chief economist Avery Schenfeld. How soon will anyone step up to build a plant in Canada to produce exports to the United States, given that the United States has blatantly abrogated its existing free trade USMCA deal, one that Trump himself negotiated, he wrote in a note Friday. Prime Minister Mark Carney, too, warned on Friday there were signs the tariff war was impacting global and Canadian economies. In the last week, there have been a lot of developments in terms of United States tariffs policy, reactions from others including China. It really marked tightening in financial conditions. The initial signs of slowing in the global economy, Carney said. Impacts that we are starting to see, unfortunately, in the Canadian economy, particularly in the Canadian labor market. Trump says he might pause auto tariffs as the world economy endures whiplash. Trump's hard lines on trade have become increasingly blurred as he has sought to limit the possible economic and political blowback from his policies. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday floated another possible pause on automobile tariffs to give companies time to set up U.S. supply chains, bringing more uncertainty to the deeply integrated North American vehicle industry. I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they are switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, Trump said Monday in the Oval Office when asked about short-lived product exemptions. Trump put 25% tariffs on all imports of automobiles to the United States on April 3rd, but made a partial carve-out for vehicles under the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement on Trade, known as CUSMA. The Continental Trade Pact was negotiated during the first Trump administration and included protections for the automobile industry. Experts say Trump's tariffs undermine the trade pact. A White House official previously confirmed that cars made under CUSMA rules of origin were hit with duties until a system is set up to gauge how much of each finished car is made with American components. When that system is in place, tariffs will only hit the value of non-American parts. Even with exemptions for some parts of cars under CUSMA, the duties have rattled the North American automobile sector. Vehicles cross borders multiple times before they are a finished product. Duties on parts set to take effect no later than May 3rd. The auto industry is also being hammered by the 25% steel and aluminum tariffs, as well as 145% tariffs on Chinese imports. The Big Three, Ford, General Motors and Stellantis, had been lobbying the administration for weeks. Trump paused his fentanyl-related economy-wide tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a month in February, citing conversations with the vehicle manufacturing companies. When Trump announced the 25% auto tariffs on March 27, he described them as permanent. His hard lines on trade have become increasingly blurred as he has sought to limit the possible economic and political blowback from his policies. "I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible," Trump said Monday. The auto tariff turn adds to mounting uncertainty in markets around the world about Trump's plan to realign global trade. Trump launched his global reciprocal tariffs earlier this month, only to walk back the most devastating duties hours later. A 10% universal import tariff remains in place for most countries, as well as duties on specific sectors like aluminum, steel, and automobiles. Trump also escalated his trade war with China, which responded with 125% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products. The Trump administration on Friday temporarily exempted electronics from some of those tariffs. The president has also suggested he will implement specific tariffs for pharmaceuticals, lumber, and semiconductors soon.